Um, this is Huey P. Newton. Now, this was back in 1988. Of course, when Huey P. Newton was alive, and I think this is one of his last ones. It's really powerful, and it almost makes it seem like this was just done just a couple weeks ago.
People are talking with Ann Fraser and Ross McGowan.
All right, let's go ahead.
Gentlemen, thank you for coming to visit us this morning on People Are Talking. We are going to definitely get into the image of black men in America, but are the three of you still reeling on the comments of Jimmy the Greek last Friday?
Well, I'm not reading. I thought the comments were pretty accurate. I think that blacks are a superior gene line. Based upon reproductive survival success, you have to reproduce in order to survive. And blacks have been put under 400 years of slavery, given the worst food, the worst medical care, the worst housing. So that would select out the weaker gene lines. And that's why we would be out of proportionally represented in just about every area we're given an opportunity.
Are you glad? You sound like you're glad he made these comments here.
Now, if whites would like to be superior, they would allow blacks to enslave them for 400 years, and their weaker gene lines would die out. So I think that Jimmy the Greek is unfairly treated by the station that fired him. And I think the other group that probably would have a superior gene line based upon reproductive survival success are Jewish people who've been driven and murdered for years. And I would like to emphasize it has nothing to do in particular with race. It has to do with selecting out a weak gene line or weak family names. Weak not in an absolute sense, but just that the people cannot stand the oppression.
Ishmael, how do you feel?
Hold on.
So essentially what he's saying, and I'm pretty sure he really made that clear. And is it problematic to say that? In a sense, which I get, I definitely wouldn't phrase it like that, but he's just being, his honest. But essentially what he's saying is, I mean, when you oppress people for 400 something years, giving them the worst treatment possible, the worst housing, worst clothing, worst food, worst, obviously the slavery, they weren't getting paid, just the worst working conditions, that's going to either destroy that group of people or they have to somehow manage to overcome it. And just like you said, with the Jewish brothers and sisters, the history they have, all the overcoming they had to do, essentially the weaker gene, the soft stuff, you know what I'm saying? You're eventually going to have to overcome. Either you're going to die or you're going to have to fight. So that's essentially what he's saying.
All right.
Another way, and that's that. There were 1 million black boys last year that wanted to play in the NBA. Of that million, only 400,000 will even make it to play high school ball. Of that 400,000, only 4,000 will be able to make it to play college ball. Of that 4,000, only 35 will make it to the NBA. Of that 35, only 7 start. And the average life in the NBA is 4 years. So the real problem is we have 1 million brothers looking for 7 full-time jobs the last 4 years. And yet last year we had 100,000 jobs available to be a computer programmer, engineer, or doctor, and only 1,000 brothers qualified. So our appeal to black males is to realize the odds. That you do most will be that you do best. I mean, we were the first doctor, not Hippocrates, Imhotep. So we have the ability either in math or science or music and sports. But that you do most will be that you do best. If you play basketball from 3 o'clock to 9 o'clock, you'll be a very good basketball player. If you went home and went to the library, you'd be a very good scholar. We need more black male role models that will encourage our youth in math and science.
Ishmael, how are you reacting to the
facts, bars? That's today. Everybody wants to be a rapper. Everybody still wants to play basketball. Everybody still want to play football. But like you said, now, statistically speaking, I'm going to have to look at some numbers, but I'm just assuming it can't be that far off from what he's spouting off right here.
Offended by the remarks, but
You were what? Offended?
I was offended by the remarks, but I hear those kind of remarks all day, every day, and I think that.
So he said what you think a lot of folks are
They say
thinking
it. They say it
anyhow,
before-
but they're not saying it.
Before I came over here, I was tuned into another channel, fortunately.
That's okay, Ishmael.
And I think the interviewer was trying to congratulate Arthur Mitchell of the Harlem Dance Group. And he tried to congratulate him by saying that, well, these people are not into superfly bebop. They're into things that are more, forms that are more elegant and sophisticated. I can't think of any music form that's more sophisticated and elegant than bebop. So I took that as a slur against Afro-American music. So I think what happens is that we run the risk of singling out people like Nick the Greek and Al Campanese, is that the way you pronounce his name?
Campanese.
Yeah, who have working class styles, and we let these elitists, people in culture and education, get away. You understand what I mean? So it seems to be a double standard. People who have a working class background, like those two guys, get blasted. But people in the industry I work in the university and culture, get away. They make remarks like that all the time.
So in other words, it's kind of a good thing that it came out. It kind of hit people in the face, made them realize that they have this deep programming that's gone on.
Yeah, but see, the program continues. I mean, you know.
I can't see why any people would be insulted by someone saying they're superior. As I read the article,
Yeah, but the Reverend Jesse Jackson, Huey, has said he should have been fired by CBS. Dr. Harry Edwards, Huey, hold on.
I'm talking about what Huey Newton says right now. Jimmy the Greek also said if blacks are given the opportunity in management in other areas, they will probably be superior there too. And so I can't see where anyone would find fault with him other than the majority group who are afraid of blacks because of our superiority.
You said okay.
I would love to see someone like Ben Shapiro or you know, just one of those weenies actually have a conversation with someone like this who ain't taking that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Now, black superiority, I don't know. We gonna have to have a deeper conversation on that. But I do love his presence. I do love his the way that he is speaking with authority, and he ain't taking that. He said, nah, you ain't gonna interrupt me with whoever said what. You gonna listen to what I got to say. That's the kind of facade, or not even facade, but that's just how you have to present yourself back then, and you know, don't let nobody talk over you. I honestly respect that.
Oh yeah, I said okay because it's true. It's easy for us to lash out at this person, but he meant that. You know,
That was his programming, it wasn't.
right. He meant exactly what he said. That was very important to him. So we have to look at that and realize that this is how people are thinking.
How do we change people's thinking?
I don't want to change it. In other words, if you put blacks under the most vicious, the most savage oppression throughout the start of the enslaving period, what gene line would be left other than a very strong gene line? I think it's ridiculous to think that, in a biological sense, that weak gene lines would not be wiped out after giving the worst food, the worst medical care, and so forth. I think what people really want to do is read into Jimmy the Greek's statement to say that, well, blacks are only good at athletics, and blacks can't be good at quarterbacks or at management. But he did not say that. I think you're programmed to read into it black inferiority, because that's what you're used to seeing. And I don't know what his intentions were even.
So how do we reprogram that so we don't think that blacks are inferior?
Well, you just have to stop being racist by first encountering your racism and seeing first that you should be a little afraid of a people that you've attempted to commit genocide against. Not only then, but now.
Jawanza, is it the fault of the media?
Well, there's no question that there's a direct relationship between images and self-esteem. I mean, it goes all the way back to Tarzan, to Superman, to Rambo, to Batman, to even painting the image of Jesus Christ as white. I mean, you can't separate racism from anything. So it's not unlikely then that you have Pope Julius commissioning Michelangelo in 1505 to paint Jesus Christ white. Images control self-esteem. Abraham Lincoln found out very early, when you have 300 slaves on a plantation and one master, it takes a lot of work. Why don't you let them go? But don't teach them who they are. Control their history. Control
Yep.
their images. Then you won't have to watch them. Whoever controls the mind will also control the body.
Let's talk about
And this is why it's so important for like Ariel from The Little Mermaid. I know a lot of people are tripping about that. A lot of people don't understand why a lot of black folks love the movie Black Panther and the concept of Wakanda. You know what I'm saying? He said it perfectly. Those images reflect is going to play a part in your self-esteem. If all you see is God as a white person and you're darker than me, what do you? And then you have a lot of racist white folks saying a lot of, you know, racial things, and that's going to play a part on you. But when you finally see that black superhero, when you finally see that black doctor on TV, or that black lawyer, or even a fictional, you know, just a Little Mermaid, you know what I'm saying? Like, that plays a part some way, somehow. And that's why representation isn't the end all be all, but it does play a part, and I think it is important.
about the image of the black man in America when we return. Stay tuned. A reporter for Newsweek went back to the projects in Chicago to see where he had been reared and all. And he said, as he sees it, the image of a black man in America is like when he gets on an elevator, a woman, she grabs her purse a little tighter to herself, fear that this black man's going to steal it. He's walking down a deserted street with a black friend, and a white couple is walking toward them, and they cross the street for fear of these black men. Is that the image of black men in America as you see it?
Well, one of the things that I'm concerned with in one of the books that I've written, Countering the Conspiracy to Destroy Black Boys, is what happens early on. And one of our concerns is we have studies that document that black boys may be the best students in the country up until 4th grade. So the question is, what happens to black boys in the intermediate and upper grades to begin to create the kind of image that you're talking about when they become 18 years and older? I sincerely believe that only men can make boys men. Now, don't misquote me. I did not say that a single female parent could not rear or educate her child, but she need not do that by herself. Because I understand we're on television time, it's time to make the point very clear. Where are black boys going to see black men? If you look at the home, 38% of all black children live in a single-run household. In terms of school, 83% of all elementary school teachers are women. 95% of all teacher aides are women. When you look at on television, you'd be hard-pressed to name 5 positive black men on television outside the news, especially if I excluded Bill Cosby. And then, unfortunately, many young people, men don't go to church. So the last place is the streets, and that's the problem. The streets do a very poor job making black men. So the real problem is black boys have a difficult time seeing strong black male role models, which is why is a positive male role model.
Yes.
I have concerns about that. I respect his ability to use his talent, but there are other ways. I mean, images are very important. And even though in his last movie, where he even used a plug about Bill Cosby said, you know, can you make things funny without using 4-letter words and so forth and so on. It's as if Eddie Murphy said he understood it, but he went right back to using 4-letter words throughout his entire show. So we have to clean that up.
How about any of the black men in the audience this morning? Have you ever had experiences where when you take off the coat and tie, you're treated differently?
Yes.
Carlton?
Howard?
I'm sorry, Emmett.
Definitely. I'm involved in politics, and as I'm dressed now, I'm treated a lot different than when I had my tie on.
How are you treated differently?
Well, take for instance, if you're walking down the street, and I grew up in a white environment most of my life. If I'm by myself and I'm walking around white people, they're going to look at me strangely, as if I've done something, whether I've done it or not. But I wanted to ask a question that I wanted the gentleman to address, as far as the media and government, how they downgrade our leadership, and also our government, how they spend more money putting our brothers and sisters in jail, and as far as not taking care of the educational part. I think that's a root of our problem as far as black America.
Education.
I'd like to reinforce that America spends $2,300 on Head Start. To reinforce your point, they spend $20,000 to $38,000 on prison. So I believe we need to raise the right questions. How long do you stay in Head Start? Year? 2 years at the most? How long do you stay in prison? The rest of your life? Question number one. Question number two, which one works? A longitudinal study documents that Head Start works. But in terms of prison, 85% of inmates to get released go right back in. So as Jesse Jackson says, we have two choices, middle-class white America. You can either send me to Penn State or to State Penn.
Carlton.
I don't expect.
Ooh, bars.
I don't expect institutions in America to project positive black male images. Black male images are created through revolution, through fighting to change the kind of oppressive conditions that have existed here and that exist. And the positive images that we all can be very proud of are movers such as Dr. Martin Luther King, and historically not the Private Turner, Denmark Vesey.
What about the Black Panthers, Huey?
The Black Panther Party, notwithstanding.
Wasn't that a great boost to the black men in this country?
Well, we think so. And of course, we were wiped out systematically. There were about 1 million pages of information compiled upon me alone. I don't know how many millions of illegal illegal break-ins, but I know I suffered at least 20 or 30 illegal break-ins. There were FBI documents that falsified bank records sent around, and the bank records were then sent around to our supporters. There were character assassinations. Everything.
You scared people, Huey. The Black Panthers scared people.
Anytime the black man attempts to change the slave image, he will scare white people. So.
Oh, that's the most beautifulest. I'm taking a word from Trump. The most beautifulest just comeback I've ever heard in a long time. We're gonna have to run that back.
The black attempts to
people, Huey. The Black Panthers scared people.
Anytime the black man attempts to change the slave image, he will scare white people. So the Black Panther Party, I thank you. When you said that we scared people, that means that we were creating a positive black image for ourselves.
Carlton, you were an original Panther also, correct?
I was one of the original members of Huey's defense team when he was first charged with the murder of Officer Fry and the assault on Officer Haynes. I have many comments to make, and I'm not going to be able to make them all. But I would like to make them in order of importance. We are celebrating Martin Luther King's birthday today. I think that we should be, at some point, considering making Huey P. Newton's birthday a national holiday. When I first came to the Bay Area from Chicago, I was appalled at the way the police were oppressing black people in the ghetto. And the only man who had the guts to stand up was Huey P. Newton, along with his associate Bobby Seale. I was very proud of his actions. I thought that Martin Luther King taught us how to pray and how to arouse the conscience of our oppressor. And I thought that Huey P. Newton taught us how to stand up to our oppressor. And for that, I think he should be accorded a national holiday.
Okay, thank you, Carlton. You did a nice job with that.
Bravada.
Hi, I grew up in San Francisco in the Hunters Point Naval Projects, and I could remember being about 6 or 7, and we had an area for the Black Panthers up in Hunters Point, and I felt so protected that they were there. I felt that I could go outside, and everything was beauty. The black people were together in Hunters Point, and when we had that big riot on 3rd Street, everybody began stealing from each other. Not at that point, but it's just like we lost our togetherness. We lost it.
Now that you look back over the entire Black Panther movement, are you buoyed by it? I mean, was it a real positive experience? You think it worked?
I think that we accomplished some of the goals that we set out for. Of course, that blacks are not free in the United States to this very day, so we have not accomplished freedom. But I hope that we laid down a history that we contributed to the continuing struggle for freedom.
Let's take a commercial break. We'll be back.
And that's the whole point of, at least in my opinion, about activism. Like, you're not going to solve it, maybe not solve it in your lifetime. You're not going to solve systemic racism throughout America during your lifetime, but the most you can do, the best you can probably do, is hopefully continue and just add on to it. And if we're definitely gonna have to do some deep dives on Huey P. Newton and the Black Panther Party of self-defense. Boom, right there. They've definitely done a lot, especially in that time. It wasn't anything like that. It was probably some fractures I've heard about here and there, but how impactful the Black Panther Party of self-defense was, it made a difference. And I can only hope that something like that, for this day and age, not exactly how it was built for them, but something similar needs to happen in my generation, at least.